Uh, so I was born in '86, and all these things you mentioned about being a character guy and needing certain guys to win and that veteran presence, you actually brought to Pittsburgh when you kind of transitioned from being that superstar center for the Islanders. And I believe you were released. And I think you signed as a free agent with Pittsburgh, and you
Yes.
kind of brought that same type of presence to the Penguins. So I was curious. I was always curious to know, like, you went from playing with Mike Bossy, one of the all-time greatest goal scorers ever, and you were setting him up, and then you go to playing on Mario's team. You're not necessarily playing with Lemieux, but you're playing kind of a different role at that point in your career. I was wondering if you could kind of talk about what that transition was like and playing with those two guys.
Well, what's really fun, and Michael understands, because as we go through our career, the early years, and then later stages of our career, you're constantly kind of like reevaluating yourself and saying, what can I bring next season? What can I do? And when I was released and free agent, I said to myself, what team would want what I have left in the tank? And I started looking at, I might not be the first wave of an attack, but I might be the second, third. I still got some really good defensive qualities of, penalty kill, take some face-offs, whatever. And it was great because every team I called LA. They had Gretzky as bigger mate. They might be interested. I called Detroit. They had a young Steve Yzerman. I called Pittsburgh because of Mario, and always wanted to be Maple Leafs, so I called Toronto. And it was really kind of neat to see the reaction of the general managers and talk to them. They're like, Brian, give us a couple of days, but we'll get some back. And say, hey guys, like free agency, and the first one to give it. And when Craig called, Craig was he was interested. He said, I want to bring some Stanley Cup winning experience. I have Paul Coffey. I'm bringing in Joe Mullen, yourself, and your experience. That locker room presence sometimes can help settle a team down or just ramp them up at the right time. And it was wonderful because we had Joey, we had Paul, we had a whole bunch of guys in the locker room that won before, and the kids were so eager. Recchi, Steven, Mary was hungry as anybody, and obviously Bob Erie, Phil Bork. I mean, there's guys that have played there 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and everybody was hungry. So they kind of looked at us, and it's time to be poised, it's time to be calm, and hey, it's time to ramp it up here, boys. And it was great. So yeah, to bring that winning experience here and to be appreciated all over again, and to kind of look at yourself and evaluate yourself and kind of believe in yourself and say to yourself, I got a little hockey left. Why? And bang, we went back to back. So there's a little vindication for me in a sense. It was 8 years between winning my last cup in New York and then coming to Pittsburgh, and to feel like young again. And Bob Johnson, when I signed with Pittsburgh, he said, "You're gonna feel 18 years old again, Brian." I'm like, yeah. Bob's Mr. Positive, but I did. It was like feeling that adrenaline, that youthful enthusiasm that you had as a youngster, because you're valued, you're worth, and you're feeling the guys in the locker room. Oh, Trot, any little thing I did, like, oh, what a great play, whatever. It gets ramped, magnified a little bit. And it was really fun to come to Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh, Mike, is anybody like it? It's a wonderful city. You work hard here, and people love you, and it was great.
Yeah.
You work your tail off, and everything you do, so it's been fun making Pittsburgh home for all these years.
Did that North Stars team ever have a chance, Trotz? Was there ever a thought that John Casey wouldn't be swimming like a fish when Mario went around him?
Okay. Well, Mario made a lot of goaltenders look like a fish out there, but you know what? We went into that series. We knew the depth they had up front. We knew the toughness. They were scrappy D. Tenorti and Wilkinson, that crew. They were scrappy. John Casey was stingy in the play. They came in. They deserved to be in that final, and they were hungry. Neil Brott and Bobby Smith brought some veteran leaders. They were ready, and we didn't want to give them even a little lick. And we split, I think, both the series at home and then in Minnesota. Was Mario the healthiest? No, but Mario played, and he was first star every game. His back was not as 100%. He was still first star every game. But
there's
talk
a
about
trophy.
being lucky.
There's a statue outside the arena.
Yeah,
outside the arena will show you how healthy he still looked pretty good there.
Yeah, no, Mario's a menace. But Yager, this young kid, he brought Kim in. I had him on my right side. So talk about youthful enthusiasm, a kid that wants to just playing with that kid was a lot of fun, So but we had some depth and some great guys, and I don't know if Minnesota felt like they had a shot, but that last game we weren't giving them. We went 8-0, and things were just bouncing our way that game. But we were looking at come on, clock, speed up here. It wasn't going fast enough. We didn't want to give him one goal and even give him a taste of what it might feel like here, because we said, no, there's no way. There's just no way. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But well, it was they were equal to the task, so to speak. But that last game kind of was a little lopsided, and that happens in hockey, as you know.
Well, I got one more thing on that series specifically before we let Rupper get some more stuff in here. Trotz, there's an infamous clip floating around on YouTube, and I won't make you repeat it because you already know what I'm going to ask. But you and Kevin Stevens, I believe, is giving it to Brian Bellows is one of the all-time chirps. Like, that was one of the first things I was introduced to in the hockey world as far as chirping a player and getting inside guys' mind. Just absolutely legendary.
Well, it's not one of my finest moments or proudest moments or whatever you want to call it, but I tell you one thing, it's infamous in the sense that I go into schools and young kids will come up to me and they go, "Oh, you really gave it to Bellows," and I got to. Oh, kid, yes. That was computer generated. Computers nowadays. Read my lips. I'm saying, "Hey, Brian, good game. Keep trying." Whatever. and the kids are kind of buying, like, yeah, right. But no, Kevin started that whole thing, chirping at poor Brian Bellows, and Brian was kind of diving, trying to draw penalties, and so we just jumped all over. He's by our bench, and you know what that's like, Rupper, when you're by the bench and you're the closest guy to that bench, you just got to take it. You can't respond, and you can see Kevin Collins, the linesman's even laughing a little bit. He's going to drop the puck. He's going to poor Bellows is just taking it left, right, and center, but. He came back with a couple of good comments. That I don't know where the microphone was. They didn't get his comments, and then you could just hear like, "Oh yeah, well, okay, Bellows." And also he skates by, "Whoa!" And then we start all over again. "Oh yeah, well." So he had a couple of good comments coming back at us, and that's just hockey.
Yeah, you go as a winger to take the draw. You take the draw as a winger in front of the opposing team's bench, and anything could happen. I mean, you get over there sometimes, and you got guys sneaking water bottles, and they're spraying, the water right down the back of your shorts. And next thing you know, you stand up real quick, and and it's like one guy versus 15 guys standing right there. So, you know what though, Trotty, we all have been in that spot. I've had a moment like that or two in my career too, where it's like, you just get caught saying the wrong thing and it just it's how it is, man. You're on the ice, you're looking for any edge, and it feels like a war out there, and you're just letting everything play.
Trying to get under each other's skin, trying to just get in their grill and take their mind off the game, so they kind of get crazy. And we tried to do that to Scott Stevens when he was in Washington and New Jersey, and he got pretty poised at the end, but he had a short fuse there early in his career. And anything you could do to get a guy off his game, we try it, So if you could kind of get his attention away, and he starts, mouthing again or scrumming or whatever to call it, it's just it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That was just one of those. I get it. It wasn't my finest moment, but maybe generational to a degree.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was a very fine moment. It was very fine moment.
We were passing that clip around in our little group thread a couple weeks ago before we even knew we were having you on. So it's been makes its rounds. But hey, man, you
always say when you're in one of those clips, you always say, "Boy, am I ever glad I'm not the guy getting it."
That's true. You're on the right side of it.
Oh my God.